Hey guys, Jonathan Soda here, back again doing another movie review, and today we'll be reviewing, let me try to get it out, Star Wars 4, A New Hope. Okay, so, Star Wars 4, A New Hope is directed by George Lucas and features Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Alec Guinness, Carrie Fisher, Peter Mayhew, Anthony Daniels, Kenny Baker, David Prowse, James Earl Jones, and Peter Cushing. So the plot of Star Wars 4 A New Hope is that the rebel ship is getting attacked. It opens with like the rebel ship getting attacked by the Empire, and Darth Vader's crew like kills a lot of the rebels, and so does Darth Vader appears there too, and while they're there, Leia and all the rebels realize like there's very little hope for the galaxy now, and like not a lot of people are gonna make it, and like pretty soon, the Empire will start ruling the galaxy. So Leia decides to, Princess Leia, the princess of the rebellion, decides to put a message in R2D2 and Death Star plans in it. The message in it is for Obi-Wan Kenobi, the former. He's still a Jedi, but he's not like doing a lot. He's like kind of retired in a way, that's what. So like she puts a message in there for Obi-Wan Kenobi, telling her to help him out and all of that. And so the droids end up making it out in an escape pod, and Leia doesn't make it out. Like she ends up getting captured and kidnapped by Darth Vader, and he keeps her in the Death Star. And while that happens, we follow up with R2D2 and C-3PO. Their escape pod landed in Tatooine. While they're in Tatooine, they're like walking around seeing where to go and all of that. But R2D2 seems to know where he's going, but like C-3PO like is not believing him, and he wants to take his way, and he thinks that like C-3PO is like crazy or something. Like, I'm going this way. Why are you gonna go that way and all of that? And then they do end up splitting. They do end up splitting up, and 3PO goes his way and R2D2 goes his way, but when they split up, they both get captured by sand people who love selling droids. So yeah, they get captured by them, and then they get shipped to Luke Skywalker and his uncle and aunt, their home. They get shipped there, and like Uncle Owen Lars, he ends up buying 3PO and R2D2, and they put them home, and like they assemble them, and Luke Skywalker is like trying to assemble them. And we follow with Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker is the main protagonist of this movie. Luke Skywalker does not like living in Tatooine, because Tatooine's this big deserted desert planet, and so it's so isolated, and he just hates living there. He hates having to be at home with his uncle and aunt. I forgot what they do. I think they do farming or fixing electricity. I forgot what it was, but he just doesn't like being there. Once he's fixing the droids, he tells them someday I want to get out of here and fight and join the rebellion and fight the Empire. So that's what he's always wanted to do. So while he's assembling R2D2's message from Leia pops out, and it says, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." And so Luke is confused, who's Obi-Wan Kenobi? She's so beautiful. Should we go to Obi-Wan Kenobi? What do you think? And so that happens, and then before they can do anything else about it, they end up doing something about it, but before they do, Luke eats dinner with his family. He watches the sunset. When he comes back, he finds out that R2 has left. He's escaped and he has gone to look for Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so I think overnight they try to look for R2, and then they don't even find him until the morning. And so once they do find him, they get captured by the sand people, and then they end up getting rescued by Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is now known as Ben Kenobi. So Obi-Wan rescues them, and then Luke tells him, "We're looking for an Obi-Wan Kenobi. Do you know him?" And he's like, "Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time." So yeah, and then he tells him that he's Obi-Wan Kenobi and all of that, and then he takes him to his house and he tells him all about Jedis and like the Force and all of that, and he even gives him his father's lightsaber before him. So yeah, once that scene happens, like Obi-Wan, R2D2's like message, like Obi-Wan is able to fix R2's message to show fully, and it shows that like Leia is saying that years ago you helped fight for in the Clone Wars with my father, and like you're a Jedi, and like please help us, you're our only hope. And so yeah, once they Obi-Wan Kenobi, he listens to the message, and he decides to take Luke to Alderaan to train to become a Jedi, because his father before him was a Jedi, and with proper training, Luke could become a Jedi. So yeah, so he wants to take Luke to Alderaan to do training to become a Jedi and then fight the Empire. So that's basically the whole plot of A New Hope. It's very simple. Now, do I like Star Wars 4 A New Hope? Yes, I love Star Wars 4 A New Hope. It is really, really good. It is really simple, and it's just really enjoyable. Like, this movie is very enjoyable. Like, when I'm watching this movie, I'm just having the time of my life, and I'm not complaining, and it's just really enjoyable. Like yeah, I think this might be like the most enjoyable Star Wars movie ever. Like, literally, this is so cool, and the characters in this movie are much better than the ones in the prequel movies and the spin-off and the rip-off movies. The characters in this movie are why Star Wars exists. If it weren't for this movie, Star Wars wouldn't have existed. This was originally the first Star Wars movie, actually, and it used to just be called Star Wars. But like later on, like 20 years later, or like 16 years after they were finished with the original trilogy, George Lucas decided to do prequels, and then, as you might know, they sucked. So yeah, and then after that, they decided to do rip-off movies after the first movie in the sequel trilogy came out. So yeah, and we already reviewed those movies. So now here we are talking about the original trilogy, 4, 5, and 6, starting with 4. And 4 is really good, and this is a really, really good start off to a really good trilogy. So yeah, the characters in this movie, Luke Skywalker is awesome. Luke Skywalker is probably my favorite character in all of Star Wars, and I'm pretty sure everyone else agrees too. So Luke Skywalker, he has a lot of character building and a lot of character arc in this movie, and so does everyone else in this movie too. Luke Skywalker is really good, and like, at first, he comes off as like this, like a little bit of a whiny brat, just a little bit of a whiny brat, because like when his uncle and aunt, when they first get C-3PO and R2-D2, his uncle and aunt are like, Luke, put the droids in the house, and he's like, but I was going to the tossing station to pick up some power converters. So yeah, he does come off as a whiny brat in the beginning, only a little bit, and then his character arc like builds up as soon as the message plays, and it's so good. So what else was I gonna say? Is there anything else? Oh yeah, and Luke Skywalker, his character arc completely changes when, spoiler, this review will contain spoilers, so if you haven't seen this movie, please leave the review, but I'm pretty sure everyone has seen this movie already. So yeah, I love when Luke Skywalker, like when he's coming back home from like talking with Obi-Wan, he goes back home and he sees that the stormtroopers have like completely burned his house, and they burned his uncle and aunt alive. Like, when he goes back home, like everything he knew was gone, like everything he was raised in is gone now, like his whole house, and he literally sees his uncle and aunt burned alive, burnt to skeletons, burnt to crisp, like right in front of him. And like right there, that's like one of the most darkest Star Wars moments ever, and most dramatic too. And like Luke Skywalker, like he's at first scared and sad, and then like he looks away, and then he just looks back all mad, like, I'm gonna do something about this, or like I'm gonna go become a Jedi now. And it's just so cool, and it's just so character building, and it's so strong, and it's so emotional, and it's just everything a movie has to offer. offer is in that scene, and it's so cool. And just the music too that plays in that scene is another thing that makes that scene so emotional. So yeah, and yeah, how can I not talk about John Williams' amazing music to this movie? A lot of people say this movie would be nothing without John Williams' amazing music that he composed in this movie. I agree. This movie wouldn't have been anything without John Williams' amazing piece of soundtrack to this movie. He's done his soundtrack to this movie is so beautiful. Like the Star Wars theme, you guys know how it goes. The binary sunset, like when Luke looks at the sunset, that whole scene and the music in that scene is so beautiful. Like literally, that scene wouldn't have worked without the beautiful music in it, and it's just so cool. And like his other music, like when they're shooting the droids and all of that, like it goes dun dun da da dun dun da da dun do 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 dun 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 dun. Like it's just so beautiful. It's just so awesome, and it really gets you hooked to the movie. And yeah, it's just so beautiful, and I love the music that plays in the end of the movie, where like there's like a ceremony for a medal, and the music that plays there is just so awesome. So yeah, back to Luke Skywalker. He is a really good character, like I said, and like I just love like how he's like he really wants to be a Jedi now after he saw his uncle and aunt die and everything he knows is gone. He goes back to Obi-Wan and he's like, I will do my training in Alderaan. Let's do it. And I just love how he's just really good. I love all the scenes with him in action in this movie too. It's just so cool, all the scenes with him in action. I love where Luke, like, he's shooting the droids at the stormtroopers when he just rescued Leia from the Death Star. He's shooting at the stormtroopers, and the music, and like him, like he has pretty good aim. It's really cool. So yeah, and I love when they escape the Death Star, like they're shooting at everyone, and like he makes it out right on time. So yeah, what else is there? Let me think. Anything else? Yeah, and this movie's not boring at all. Like, there is no boring scenes in this movie. Like, every scene is very interesting. Like, when they're talking, when they're sitting and talking, it doesn't even go for that long, and it's really interesting. Like, it's really, like, you really get, like, compelled to it, and it's really good, and it's really cool. So yeah, and they even explain the Force, like, beautifully in this movie. And they do that again with part 5. I will explain in part 5 like what the Force is. Everyone might already know what the Force is, but I'll tell you guys my interpretation of the Force in my part 5 review. Okay, so what else was I gonna say? Anything else? I love the scene where Luke rescues the Luke and Han Solo rescue the princess in like these stormtrooper outfits, dressed up as stormtroopers. So yeah, that scene was pretty cool. And I love the garbage compactor scene where they're about to get squished. Like they're about to get squished in the garbage, but then like R2D2 like barely saves them on time, and that whole scene is very suspenseful. And it gives you a bit of anxiety too, like being squished in like two walls being put together is really raises your anxiety, and it's just really chilling. So yeah, what else was I gonna say? And I love Luke Skywalker in the ending of the film where he's with all the rebels and he's trying to destroy the Death Star, and the Force is really strong with him in that scene. Like he's moving away from like the TIE fighters, like aiming with trying to shoot at him, and Darth Vader's aiming too, and then like he's moving, and like he has really good aim with shooting too, and like he shoots the Death Star, like he shoots like the TIE fighters, and it's done really cool. And I love when he's shooting the TIE fighters when they're escaping the Death Star in the Millennium Falcon. That whole scene is really cool. And like back to the X-Wing and the TIE fighters and the Death Star, I love when like Luke destroys the Death Star, like he did, like the rebels help him out with destroying every power plant, and then he destroys the final one, the final two, and it's really cool. So yeah, and just Luke is a really cool character in this movie. What else was I gonna say? Darth Vader. it'll be a crime not to mention Darth Vader as a villain, not to talk about him in a review. Darth Vader is such a badass. Darth Vader, this movie introduced us to Darth Vader, the greatest villain of all time. He's such a badass, and he's my favorite villain in a movie of all time. He's such a badass in this movie. Just the line delivery, he can choke people out he can choke people out by not even touching them by like through the force, and it's just really cool. So, and he also has really good lightsaber duel too with the red lightsaber. And yeah, and he's really evil in this movie. There's a scene where like Vader like orders his men to destroy Leia's home planet, Alderaan, where Luke and Obi-Wan were about to train in. And like he just destroys that planet right in front of Leia's eyes, and that part is just so messed up. And like yeah. So what else is there? And like let me think, is there anything else about Darth Vader? Darth Vader, he doesn't have as much screen time in this movie as he does in the other two movies, but he's still really, really cool in this movie. And like all the scenes he's in, he's just really chilling. And I love like the conference scene, like in the Death Star. That whole scene's really cool. So what else is there? And I love Vader's greatest assistant too. He's really cool too. I forgot his name. Like he's the only character in this movie that I can't remember his name. I don't remember his name, but like he's really cool too, and he reminds me of. I'll get to that in the sequel trilogy, but like he's really cool in this movie too, and he's very wise, and like Vader always seems to listen to him. Like when he's choking out the man in the conference room, he's just like, Vader, release him, and he's like, as you wish. And yeah, it's just really cool how Vader mostly gets orders from him, and it's really cool. So yeah, what else is there? Yeah, Vader's voice in this movie is really cool. James Earl Jones did a fantastic job voicing Vader in this movie. James Earl Jones' voice is awesome, and it's very breathtaking, and it's very chilling, and it's just really cool. And I don't think anyone could have voiced Vader as good as James Earl Jones did. So yeah, and David Prowse did a really good job in the costume. He didn't voice Vader, but he was in the costume, and he was like doing like his not really his stunts, but he was like doing the lightsaber duels and choking people out. So yeah, and David Prowse did a really good job with being in the costume of Vader. So yeah, what else is there? And I love Obi-Wan Kenobi in this movie. Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's really cool in this movie. To be honest, he's a little more cooler than he was in the prequels, to be honest. He's really wise in this movie. He's really cool. He's really smart. He's really interesting, and he's just really cool. Obi-Wan Kenobi is just very, very interesting. So yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi, like when he talks to Luke about the Force, and when he gives him the lightsaber, that's like the first introduction to the lightsaber, and it's just really cool. And Obi-Wan's like speech and all of that is really cool, and I love when like the cantina. How do I not mention the cantina band scene in here? That scene is really cool in the bar, in like the bar in Tatooine. That scene is really cool. The music in it, the dialogue, everything in that scene is so cool. Like Obi-Wan like is very wise in that scene, and like Han Solo's like he's trying to get the Millennium Falcon from Han Solo, and then Han Solo's like, "You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon, dude?" And he's like, should I have? Yeah, he was really cool in that scene. And what else is there? He was also like, "We will offer you way more money than you expect. We will offer you like twice the amount you'd want," and all of that. And that was really cool. And in that scene, he even knew like what Han Solo loves the most. So yeah, and I love how like with the Force he can control people. Like I love when like the stormtroopers are like guarding like Mos Eisley and Tatooine, and he's like controlling like the stormtroopers to let him like go through. He's like, "These aren't the droids you're looking for," and then the stormtroopers like, "These aren't the droids we're looking for," and then he's like, "You may go about your business. We may go about our business. Move along." Move along. That scene is really cool. Yeah. What else is there about Obi-Wan? Let me think. Is there anything else I would like to share about Obi-Wan in this movie? What else is there? Let me think. Anything else? Let me think. I love the scene where like they're in the Millennium Falcon and they're doing their first trainings and like Luke is like on a helmet, but like it's like a helmet where he can't see anything, and like Obi-Wan's like use the Force, use your mind and all of that, and that whole scene's really cool, and like he actually does manage to master his training right there, and it's really cool. And Obi-Wan's a really good teacher for Luke too. And I love the scene where him and Vader fight in the Death Star with the lightsaber fight after the events of Revenge of the Sith. It's really cool. A lot of people say it's a little slow and like there's not really much happening in it, and it's like one of the weaker lightsaber fights. I don't think so at all. It's a lot better than the prequel fights, to be honest. So much better than those, and like just for our first lightsaber fight, this was awesome. Like they're like using it like they're not doing any crazy moves like in the prequels. They're very calm with them, and like they know their shit and they're just blocking it like do 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 do. And it's just really cool, and it's really satisfying. So yeah, and I love how the dialogue that goes on in that scene before they fight. Vader's like, last time I was but the learner, now I am the master. And then Obi-Wan's like, only a master to vivo, Darth. And then they start fighting, and then later on he's like, if you strike me down now, I will become more powerful than you can possibly imagine. And yeah, that's really cool. And it's really sad that Obi-Wan dies in that scene. Yeah, that was actually really sad. Where like he dies sacrificing himself to distract Vader, so like Luke and Leia and Solo can leave the Death Star. Like he just does this with his lightsaber, so like Vader can strike him down, and so he does, and he dies right there, and it's just really sad. He was a really good. He was also a really good like. He was also, what is the word? He was also a really good like friend to Luke too, besides trainer too, and it was really sad. So what else is there? Hey guys, John Soda here. Sorry that my other video ended very abruptly, but here I am continuing talking about Star Wars 4: A New Hope. So as I was saying, back to the characters. Now Han Solo, he is like really cool. He's really cool in this movie. In Han Solo, it didn't even show us much of how he acts in this movie, but here he acts really cool. He's really cocky and he's really awesome, and all he cares about is just money. And Luke and Obi-Wan and the droids need a ship to fly to get to Alderaan, and so they have him fly the Millennium Falcon, and then they're gonna pay him a lot once he flies them there. So yeah, and like Han Solo also like owes money from Jabba the Hutt, the smuggler dude. So yeah, what I do like about this movie, I've seen the original edition instead of the special edition, but what I like about the original edition is just it does not show you how Jabba looks like. It just leaves to the audience's imagination until Return of the Jedi. So yeah, and like Han Solo owes money to Jabba the Hutt, and if he gets this money, he'll be able to pay back Jabba the Hutt. So that's mostly why he's doing this. And yeah, and I love when he's first introduced, and like he has so much cool line delivery in the Cantina band scene with Chewie. So yeah, what else is there? And I love when like he shoots Greedo under the table. He has like his blaster on his leg, and then he just like Greedo's like he's about to leave the door to the cantina, he's about to get out of the bar, but then Greedo stops him and he's like, Unta Gunta Solo, and he's like, yes Jabba, which Unta Gunta means going somewhere solo. So yeah, and then he's like, yes Jabba, tell Jabba, yes Greedo, tell Jabba I got the money, and he's telling him like, please let me go, I'm gonna give him the money, I don't have it with me, just tell him. And then Greedo just doesn't listen to him, and he's just like, you should have paid Greedo when you had the chance. And then he's like, and then he's like, you can't leave without paying him. And he's like, and then Han Solo was like, over my dead body, and he's like, that's the idea. And then he's speaking like this alien language, saying that, and he's like, I've been waiting for this moment my entire life. And then Han Solo's like, yes, bet you have. And then he shoots him on the penis under the table, and it's really cool. And just from right there, he's instantly awesome. So yeah, what else is there? So yeah, I just hate how the special edition makes Greedo shoot first instead of Han Solo. Han Solo, of course, shot first. Fuck you, George Lucas, for doing that. Fuck you for making the special editions and making the prequels. And this is George Lucas's only masterpiece right here from the Star Wars movies. And I don't think he ever made a Star Wars movie again after Revenge of the Sith. But yeah, this movie is really good. Was really good and was done by George Lucas. And George Lucas actually did a pretty good job making this movie. But I hear that George Lucas was gonna the original script for this movie was originally not gonna be that good. That Luke was instead gonna be called Anakin Starkiller, and he was gonna be like an old man who's a Jedi and all of that, and like it was gonna have like the stuff that the Last Jedi has, and like it wasn't gonna be that good for the first Star Wars movie. But like I'm so glad that like as soon as he joined the production, like his crew and the production like came up with this all new idea, and this is what we got, and it worked very well. If it weren't for the production company going in or the crew, this movie wouldn't have worked at all. And yeah, this movie also, the cast and crew, like, working on this movie, like, they were really scared that this movie was not going to work out. That, like, maybe, because, like, a lot of things weren't working out on set. Like, sets weren't working out, costumes weren't working out, and the actors wouldn't really, like, act all that great or give it their all unless Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi would come on set with them. Because, like, whenever they'd be on set, like, they'd always be laughing or not taking it seriously until Alec Guinness came on set, and as soon as he comes on set, they're just like, okay, that's Alec Guinness, let's go back, let's give it our all, Alec Guinness, we have to be careful. So yeah, that was really cool, and like this movie really did end up working, and it really changed film history. This movie changed film history forever. Like this movie changed a lot about film history. Like I think this is probably the Star Wars film that made the most money, because like this movie like was really packed while making, and this movie like changed film history, and like this became so famous because of that. And yeah, it just changed everything. The way people anticipated films, the way people look at films, it just changed everything. And so yeah, and it's really cool. So, and also, you have to be a grumpy old fuck not to appreciate Star Wars 4. And yeah, what else is there? Okay, so back to Han Solo. He's really cool in this movie, and his character arc really builds up too. At first, he's just like this man who just cares, the smuggler dude who cares about money and all of that. And yeah, but like he's really cool and he's really cocky with caring about money in this movie. And like when he's flying the people to Alderaan, like he's just not giving a shit on what they're doing, and like he just thinks the Force is all bullshit, and he thinks that like this whole Jedi shit is all bullshit, and he doesn't really believe it all that much, and it's just really cool. So yeah, and I love how like once they get to the Death Star, they see that Alderaan is destroyed, and there's so much suspense in that scene. Like Alderaan's destroyed, and then they're leaving seeing like the Death Star, and like the Death Star is like pulling them in, like is like pulling the Millennium Falcon into the Death Star through a magnet, and it's really cool. Like they're trying to get out, but they're not able to, and like Han Solo's trying everything. It's just really suspenseful. And when they look at the Death Star, they're like, "Hey, look, the Millennium Falcon's going to that moon." And then Obi-Wan's like, "That's no moon. That is a space station." And he's like, "It's too big to be a space station." And he's like, and Obi-Wan's like, "Yes, maybe we should turn back." Sorry, my mom has the TV on. She's watching Spanish novellas in the background, so if you hear noise in the background, don't mind it all that much. Probably my next video will not have much noise, but what was I saying right now? Oh yeah, so the Death Star, yeah, that whole scene was really cool. When they get magnetized to the Death Star, they're trying to find out like how to get out of there and what to do next now that Alderaan's destroyed. But like while they're on there, they find out that the princess is there, and so like they rescue the princess, and then like but like in like stormtrooper outfits so they won't get noticed. So yeah, that whole scene's really cool, and I love how like in that scene, Han is like really scared, and he's like what the fuck are we gonna do now? Of course he's not cussing, but he's like, what are we doing now, and all of that. And like and then he even refuses to like help him save the princess at first, and he's like, you know, if you help us save the princess, then the prize will be more than you could possibly imagine, more than me and Obi-Wan are paying you, and all of that. So, and that's the only reason why he saves Leia. So yeah. What else was I gonna say? Anything else? And I just love when like Han leaves. When they take Princess Leia back to the rebellion, I love how like Han has all his money already, and then he leaves. And I love this is where his character arc really improves, and he becomes more cool than he already was. And so it's where Luke is destroying the TIE fighters, and like the scene I was talking about earlier. No, Luke is destroying the Death Star. Like he's in the Death Star destroying the power plant and the TIE fighter with the rebellion. But like Darth Vader already has full aim on Luke, and then Han Solo comes in and he's like, yee-haw! And then he like shoots the TIE fighters and then shoots Darth Vader, but he barely misses him, and then it just sends Darth Vader flying all over the galaxy. And then like Han Solo right there just saved Luke's life, and it was so cool. So yeah, and then that's what really gets Luke to be free and destroy the Death Star. So yeah, and I love in that scene Obi-Wan Kenobi is like talking through the Force, like talking like through his mind of what to do and like how to control his senses and all of that, and it's really cool. So yeah, and I love how in the end him and Han Solo end up getting medals. So yeah, what else is there? Princess Leia in this movie, she's a really good character. I love all the scenes with her in the Death Star with Darth Vader, because she's refusing to tell Darth Vader about the droids, because like Darth Vader wants to get the R2-D2 and 3PO because they have plans on how to destroy the Death Star. So yeah, and I just love how she's always refusing to like tell them where they are, and I just love. Yeah, and I just love like I said before earlier in the movie, she like I said earlier in the video, she ends up telling them where they are, but like cause they were like, if you don't tell us, we're gonna destroy your planet, and like she does, but they still destroy their planet, and like I said before, that scene was so messed up. Excuse me. So yeah, what else was I gonna say? So yeah, and like I love when like Luke and Han rescue her, and like when Leia first sees Luke as a stormtrooper, she's like, "Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?" And then Luke's like, "Huh? Oh right, uniform." And then he takes off his mask. And he's like, "I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm here to rescue you," and all of that. And I love when like they're leaving the Death Star like that. I mentioned this before, the part where they're shooting the stormtroopers, and like I just love when like he's swinging with Leia, and I love when they're in. Yeah, I just love everything that goes on in that scene. And I love how Leia's, like, when Obi-Wan dies, Leia's just accompanying Luke on how, because he's all sad. And yeah, that was really good. So yeah, what else was I going to say? Anything else about Leia? I really love how, like, in the end, she's the one to, like, give Han and Luke the medals. So yeah, what else was I going to say? Anything else? I really like Chewie in this movie. Han Solo's, everyone knows Chewie, Chewbacca. Yeah, I love how he's always on his side, and like Han Solo's like the only person he trusted. And I love like when like they're putting like Chewie as their prisoner to like not get too noticed as the stormtroopers. I love when like Luke's gonna put on like the handcuffs, and then Chewie roars at him, and then Luke's like, okay, and then he gives it to Han, like, Han, you do it, and then he just respects Han doing it, and yeah. And I just love all the noises Chewie does, too. It's really cool. Yeah, 3PO and R2-D2, they're really cool droids in this movie. They're really cool, helpful droids in this movie, and I really love R2, how he's so good with technology, and, like, he has a mind of his own, too, like, going to look for Obi-Wan and all of that. So, yeah, R2's really cool in this movie, and I love 3PO in this movie, like, how smart he is, and, like, how smart, like, how, like, helpful, like, he is, like, on, like, languages, and, like, if this is a good idea or not, what are the chances. So, yeah, C-3PO is a really good, really cool droid, and I love, like, that scene where, like, they're, like, in Obi-Wan's house, and then he's like, I will turn myself off if you don't need me anymore, and he's like, thanks, 3PO. So yeah, and I love the voice that Anthony Daniels puts in 3PO. It's really cool, and Anthony Daniels really sounds like a robot here, and it's really cool. So, and I love the way 3PO walks too. Everyone knows how he walks. He kind of walks like a penguin, and yeah, it's really cool. I think that's all the characters. All the actors, they all do an amazing job. All the actors do such an amazing job as all these characters. They're all fantastic and perfect. Like, I don't think anyone else could have played these Star Wars characters as perfect as they do. Mark Hamill, perfect and excellent as Luke Skywalker. Harrison Ford as Han Solo, excellent. Alec Guinness, excellent. Carrie Fisher, excellent. Everyone is excellent in this movie. So yeah, and James Earl Jones, like I said before, excellent as the voice. So yeah, what else is there? The pacing to this movie is really cool. This movie is 2 hours, but it goes by really fast. Like every scene they're in, it gets really compelling. It never lets up. It just keeps going and going, and like you're just hooked into it from the beginning, and then boom to the end, and you're finished with it. And it's just really cool. It goes by really fast, and it only feels like just 1 hour. So yeah, the special effects are wow, just wow. The special effects in this movie look so real. This movie was made in the 70s, and it just looks really real. Like it holds up today. Like when you're watching this, you feel like you're watching something that was made nowadays with these effects. It just looks so real. It looks more real than the fucking prequels, and like just I to compare it to the prequels is dumb, and it just looks really real. Yeah, like you feel like you're watching like ships flying around in space. You feel like you're watching that, and you feel like you're watching space. You feel like you're in a desert planet. You feel like you're inside a Death Star, a big space station in space. You really feel like every scene you're in, you feel like you're in there, and it's just done really well. So yeah, and the action sequences are amazing. Like I said before. So yeah. What else is there? So yeah, I think is there? I don't think I have any flaws with this movie at all. It's really cool and it's really enjoyable. So to rate this movie, it absolutely deserves an A+. So yeah, I think that'll be the end of the review. So yeah, bye and see you all in the next review.